This is the role of the avatar, of the great ones, to gently wake us up from a dream. As long as we remain sleeping, then wrapped up in the ego, absorbed in the dream, we don't see the light and we don't wake up. But within each of us is a spark of that same divine light, and we recognize it when we see it. We pick up the autobiography of a yogi for the first time, and we feel something. There's a presence. Swamiji said that he found the book at a store in New York City soon after the book was published, and he took it to his room and he read it nonstop. And he said he found the book almost alive in its power to convey not just ideas, but a new state of awareness. And Yoganandaji said, that was because I put my vibrations into it. And if Yoganandaji can put his divine vibrations in a book and the reader can feel them, then also we can start looking out for those divine vibrations all around us. Krishna says also elsewhere, through all things, as through the gemstones of a necklace, runs the thread of my all-unifying consciousness. And for many lifetimes we're distracted by those gemstones. They're so beautiful, all different colors. And it's only later, at a certain point, we see that hidden thread that unites all of them together. Krishna's all unifying consciousness. And it's our own destiny also to become the fluidity of water and the eternal seed of all creatures, and that uniting thread. And we can choose to feel that God is separate from us, he's far away, or we can choose to feel that he's ever present and ever near. Swamiji had a friend who was very psychic, and she invited him to come to dinner. And it was only later he realized that he didn't know her address. And furthermore, she didn't have a telephone. He had no way of reaching her. And then, simultaneously, she said to her husband, go to the neighbor and use his phone and call Swamiji. I have this feeling that he's trying to contact me. And later that same woman said to Swamiji, I see this band of blue light all across your forehead. And then without telling her, Swamiji concentrated at the spiritual eye. And she said, now the light has changed. Now it's become a point of blue light right here. And Swamiji didn't see that light, only she did. She had a particular vision that he didn't. And likewise, we perhaps can't see that unifying thread, but we can sense something, some sort of presence, underneath the emotional pain of a tragedy, barely visible in the background. We may feel a small sense of peace, even a small sense of joy, that still small voice of God, and that sense of connection in all circumstances. Leo Cox was a disciple of Yogananda Ji, and he was one of the monks. And he tells the story that one day he was walking with Master very slowly in the garden. And Leo just felt overwhelmed with love for the Guru. And he repeated mentally, "I love you. I love you." And then Yogananda Ji at a certain point stopped walking. And he turned and looked at Leo. And he said lovingly to him, "Leo, when you're like this, I can just take you by the hand and lead you directly to God." Such a touching story. Many times we've gone to Calcutta leading a group on pilgrimage, and sometimes we meditate at a house in Koshipur. And it's in this house that Sri Ramakrishna passed the last months of his life. And on a certain day, he went out into the garden, and he called each disciple up to him one by one, and he touched them, and each disciple went into samadhi, all of them, all at once. And this is the connection that I mean, the touch, that divine touch that is available to us. And let me just end by saying that many years ago, Swamiji had a group meditation for all of Ananda, and Divine Mother spoke to the group through Swamiji. And we're going to put this in our next magazine, which will be coming out soon. But let me just read an excerpt to you. Divine Mother said, "I am very pleased with all that you are doing, but don't live in littleness, in petty things, in little thoughts, little worries, little ambitions. I am your mother through all eternity. Live in my consciousness. I know all your thoughts. Your devotion is very pleasing to me. You are my children. You are all very dear to me. I am always with you. I am just behind your thoughts, just behind your feelings. I am with you every second. Let no other thought come between me and you."
There's a story an ancient story of Narada, the great sage, having realized Vishnu, and in Vishnu's presence all the time, saying, "I have forgotten, but why are these earthlings so foolish? Why do they continue to chase after all of these different things in Maya when you are possible?" And Vishnu says, "Let's go for a walk, Narada." And so they go for a walk, and he says, "Oh, Narada, I'm feeling hot. Will you please go to that house over there and get me a glass of water?" So Narada goes to the house, knocks on the door. Beautiful maiden answers the door, invites him in. The father's there. They offer him tea, and then, he starts to fall in love with the maiden. He starts to work for the father in this business. They get married. They have children. 12 years later, a great flood comes and floods the village. And so as it's flooding, Narada takes his wife and his 3 children, and they try to escape the flooding, but it's becoming so strong that the wife falls into the stream, and then one of the children falls into the stream, and as he goes to grab the children, the other ones fall into the stream, and Narada is just devastated and just downtrodden, just goes into the stream and says, "I'm done." But when he regains consciousness, he just feels himself lying on the sand, and he hears his name, Narada, Narada. And he looks up and Vishnu's standing there. Vishnu's saying, Narada, I sent you half an hour ago to get some water. Why do I see you laying on the sand here? And these are the ways that Maya can get a hold of us. And luckily for us, that when we do awake in God, when we do realize His presence with us all the time, all these incarnations, perhaps millions of incarnations, will have gone by in just a flash, because from joy we come, from Satchidananda we come, for joy we live, and in Satchidananda we will return. And that is the promise of the great masters. And they come to remind us of this again and again and say, just don't keep looking out towards Maya. Look towards God. Look towards me. Look towards the light. Cling to me, Krishna says, because he has that consciousness of being one with God. So he can say, cling to me. And they come and they show us how to have that same consciousness. Yogananda would use the analogy of the movie projector. In the old days, in the movies, they used to have a projector that would project a beam of light onto a screen. So the screen was just light and shadows, but such drama going on in the screen. And he's just saying, do not get caught up in the drama. Turn around and look at the light. And, Yoganandaji says that God is the playwright. He produced this drama. He wrote the script. He's directing the action. He's playing all of the roles. And yet, since we don't remember to look back at that beam of light, gazing up at the spiritual eye, which will bring us closer and closer to that true reality, out of delusion, since we forget to look up, we get so caught up in our role. We think this is who we are, and this is why I'm here, to do this job, to have this family, yes, we're working out our karma in these situations, but that's not who we are. We are one with Satchidananda, with the divine consciousness. And so, the yogic sciences say, yogic teachings say, that the unmanifest, one, eternal spirit vibrated a part of itself, and with that vibration of Om created all that is. And so it's like the surface of the ocean. Wave of the sea, dissolve of the sea. It's like the surface of the ocean. The wind goes on the surface of the ocean, and you have these waves. And these waves, they look so threatening and look so big, or perhaps they look pretty and beautiful. And we think that the waves is what it's about. But underneath the ocean, it's just stillness. It never changes. So that stillness, since we are one with that divine spirit, that stillness is within us. So why only play with the waves? Yogananda likened the very small swell, just a little bit of rise, just a bulge on the ocean is what Yogananda said. Just this little bit of bulge on the ocean. This is the wave hugging the sea. This is the wave. This is the individual who is very, very close to the divine spirit. He's so close to spirit that he lives in this world in peace, feeling that unity with all things, with all beings. And so there's just love and kindness and compassion for creatures, for people. And yet those people who are focusing on the waves, who are just saying, no, I actually want to rise from the sea and be, this is the egos, the strong egos are the very high waves. And these high waves see other high waves and think, I want to be a higher wave. I'm in competition with others. I'm in conflict with others. These waves are crashing and creating all this drama on the surface of the sea. But these waves have no more reality than the sea itself. The waves do not have their own essential individual reality. They are not real except for their relation to the sea. So that's why when we spend all our energy and resources and time looking outside of ourselves for our satisfaction, for our happiness, for our fulfillment, for our purpose in life, We can never find it there. And masters tell us again and again, and probably we ourselves have experienced it. How many times have we just kept trying something else? But that's not it. That's not lasting. Because in itself, these bodies are not who we are. This Maya is not our true reality. And as Keshava said, the masters come to wake us up. They just say, wake up. And they show us how. There's this stream of energy flowing outward to the world, and we're just usually caught up in it because we don't know any better. And that stream will just keep taking us. We think if we learn more, if we make more money, if we have a bigger house, if we have a nicer car, if we do more things, if we learn more things, if we travel more places, all this way will just give us what we want. Increased complexity. But actually, the closer we get to the divine, it's increased simplicity from many, many things to one thing. So we want to just use what the gurus bring us, the techniques that they tell us. Hong Sa, let's watch the breath and dive into that stillness. Energization. Learn that we are patterns of energy, flows of energy, and learn how to control those patterns, redirect those patterns when needed. What's all this have to do with us? Well, what is my next step on the spiritual path? I may not be able to merge into the divine today, but how can I change my energy pattern that tomorrow and the next day I get closer and closer to that? So we learn to control our energy. We learn to listen to the sound of Om. Close off the senses. Quit looking outside. Listen to the inner sounds. Look especially to the spiritual eye. Look at that projector that's creating everything. The light, that beam of light of God that's creating all of this. Gazing up, we become very, very close to spiritual realities. It's like a telescope. If we look in the right direction of the telescope, these spiritual realities are very close. But if we turn and look in the wrong way, they seem so far away. Gazing up, helping us to look through that telescope. So we want to enter the stream that's taking us back to God, not taking us out further and further into delusion. And we can, just with an act of will. I choose to look to the light. I choose to bathe in the light. To do everything the great ones, the enlightened ones who have already merged in the divine, the sea of spirit, they tell us. Sadhana, satsang, be in the vibration of other spiritually minded people. Seva, serve God. Remember, God is acting through you. You cannot act by yourself. God is acting through you. Practice the presence. Arjuna chose Krishna. Even though he knew Krishna would not act on his behalf, he knew that in the presence of God, he would win the battle. So just ask God to be by our side. We don't have to be a hero today. Just look in the direction of the light. Follow all the techniques that they have taught us. And most of all, they've given us so many things that we can do. But mostly we must want to merge in that love. We need to want to feel that union with God. We need to crave that peace within ourselves. And if we can generate that love, that devotion, that longing for oneness, that will take us the furthest of all. That the techniques that they have given us, but that love and that devotion, those two things, they cannot fail. Divine Mother, take my hand, awaken me from this dream. Krishna, be with me so I can fight this battle of life, and I will be able to merge back into your infinite presence of spirit.